Hey, so I sat back a bit, got my outside chair sitting in the sun. Dave's avoiding the camera, he's over there. Aren't you, Dave? Yes, he answered. He's enjoying the gardening in the sun too. It's absolutely beautiful. It's been a lot of rain here this week, so it's nice to have this. When you've seen around my garden before, I just thought this is the bit that's just been recently tidied up, so we'll go there. We're going to continue into chapter 28 now. But I'll just mention again too that in 27 and verse 33 it talks about actually in verse 32 it talks that by the time you get to the fourth generation that the peace and the goodness is going to be broken and they'll be stealing and he tells you to treasure up things in heaven again, which is good advice. But in 33 he reminds you that straight is the gate and narrow is the way. And we talked about that before, about the gate is baptism, and the pathway that leads to it is straight, and it's straight as in S-T-R-A-I-T, meaning that it's hard to find. It's that tiny little bit in between, like we have a strait of water as a tiny little bit of water in between two pieces of land. In New Zealand we have the Cook Strait, so that's a really good example there. So yeah, straight is the gate, and narrow is the way. So, not easy to find, and when you do find it, he says, few there be that find it, but it's a good one to find. So, for most of us listening to this, we are baptized, so we've already found the gate, but we've got to stay in that narrow way, and not fall prey to the world. But in chapter 28, it's actually really cool. 9 of the 12 disciples desire inheritance in Christ's kingdom, and 3 desire to be given power over death. And it's interesting that now Come Follow Me manual actually asks, what is the question we're going to ask is, what would you desire of Jesus, and what happens, and of what they asked for, how does that sort of reflect who they were? Now, they asked for things that they wanted to be near Christ. They didn't want to lose him or leave him. So, chapter 28, verse 1, and it says, "And it came to pass, when Jesus had said these words, he spake unto his disciples one by one, saying unto them, What is it that ye desire of me after I have gone to the Father?" And it's an interesting thing. So the question is, what do you desire most from Jesus Christ? Now, I had an experience in Time Out for Women when Emily Freeman talked, and this is probably 4 years ago. Gosh, it's so long ago. Maybe it was only 3 years ago. I don't know. It was just ages ago anyway. And her particular talk that was based around the book that she had at the time, but it's interesting. It was about prayer, and I've just learnt so much about prayer from that and from other conference talks that are out, especially out of Ballard's from this last conference. I'll mention him again. Home on Prayer was stunning, so go look at that one as well. But she asked the question, posed the question, because often our prayers can become quite repetitive, even though we don't mean them to be, and they are still sincere, but we tend to ask for the same things, or sort of not really think out of the box, and not have those honest conversations with our Heavenly Father. And she said, if you could ask of God one thing, what would it be? And immediately in my heart and mind was like, I would ask him to be what he promised to be, because I can't take any more heartbreak of that kind. It was a very personal, and it made me cry. And when I think about now, I cried too. It's like, I don't want to have to go through believing that he's this. I trust that he is what he is. So please be that. That's all I want him to be, is that. And I think that's what these disciples were doing with Jesus Christ. He said, what is it you want of me when I'm gone? And I think that they expressed it in this way, but what they were saying was, I just want to be with you. I want you to be you, and I want to be there. And I think it's such a beautiful thing. I do. Other people would say, I want somewhere to live, or I desire, a car to get to work in, or I desire to have children. And I think there's a lot of really wonderful desires out there of people's hearts that they can ask the Lord for, that they can take to prayer to Heavenly Father, and include Heavenly Mother in that conversation. She's listening too. But don't limit yourself to things that are obvious. Really think about that. If you could have one thing of all the things, And they don't have to be things. They can be promises. They can be securities, insurances of goodness. I mean, whatever it is that you need for your soul, have those conversations with Heavenly Father. Um, the love and the blessings are there. We just need to ask for them. It's quite interesting. We just need to ask for them. Since I had that experience at Time Out for One, and I did actually start praying for that, Heavenly Father, please be all that you've promised to be. And I've sort of stopped praying for that now because I've learned and I felt and I've started to see every day He is exactly what He's promised to be and so much more. So the blessings are there if we ask for them. These have come and that's where I'm at now. It's a beautiful thing. So try it. Think about that. Short little quote. I haven't written down who it's from. Oh, well, you have to look at the post where I say this is today's quote, and I'll have who it's from. But it said, "This love known as charity, the pure love of Christ, is ours for the asking." So I know it's from one of our current apostles. I just can't remember which. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, that'll be in the, here's today's quote from the Insight. But the love that we have, the love of Christ, the charity, is just ours for the asking. It's just a matter of asking Him and saying, please. I don't know if the three that wanted to tarry and stay here had quite in mind how long it would be, but maybe they did. It's a really long time. And there's some interesting stuff too. So now, come find me, man, you'll go look at it. There's some footnotes there on how the three were sort of changed so that they could stay here for this long. So they're sort of human, but they're a little bit celestial beings so that they could last. So it's an interesting study, but that's a whole sidebar. And if you want to go do that, great. I've done that and I've come to peace with how that works, but I'm still interested too. Okay, well, it was number 2. I'll see you in a bit for number 3. Number 3 is about Book of Mormon. It's really good. Okay.